Is wrestling TV viewership in a slow decline or an irreversible decline? Good evening, everybody. It is John from WrestleScope. Welcome to this week's show. It is an Independence Day weekend here in the United States. Belated Happy Canada Day to our friends in Canada. Excuse me. As always, got to kick this off at the beginning. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you can be updated every time there's new content here on WrestleScope TV. We're going to talk about the surprise return at last night's SmackDown, more problems with the WWE Women's Division, and much, much more. And we're already getting comments in. Hey, it's Mel. How's it going, Mel? Good to see you in here. And going to be interested to see if any of my friends from over on Twitter, the new group that I'm part of over on Twitter, are going to join in. I think we're going to dive into this right away. It's kind of the big story this week. It's been actually kind of a quiet week in news, if you think about it, in the world of wrestling. We didn't have mass releases or major controversy or really anything else like that happened this week. I actually sat here all day today just kind of looking like, what am I going to talk about? What is there to talk about this week? Raw and SmackDown were relatively boring. AEW's return to Wednesday night was actually really good. And that's actually one of the other topics I want to talk about was the main event of Dynamite possibly the best one of the year? But we'll talk about that a little bit further down the road here. Let's dive right into it with ratings. And we know that Raw's ratings have struggled. They have been juggling between 1.6 and 1.8 million viewers every Monday night. It has gone up and down. SmackDown has seen a steady decline recently. But what really kind of led me to this was Impact Wrestling. And they're coming up. They're in 2 weeks on their big show, Slammiversary. And this was posted by Brandon Thurston at WrestleNomics. Impact Wrestling on Thursday on Access TV was watched by 69,000 viewers total, the lowest in the show's history on the Anthem owned network. Now, again, Access TV is not available on all cable TV providers. If you don't have cable or satellite with certain packages, you can't get it. It's not available on Hulu or YouTube TV or Roku or anything like that. I know I struggle. I've been trying to watch Impact Wrestling on their Twitch channel, and for whatever reason, I've yet to get an answer from Impact Wrestling. I have messaged them multiple times on this. I continue to get a notification, that it is not available in my region. Now, I'm wondering if because of the television partnerships they have, that they are blocking that out on United States-based Twitch. Though I have used Surfshark, and they are not a sponsor, but I do use Surfshark, and I have tried logging in elsewhere in other countries, and it doesn't work. So I am not able to watch Impact Wrestling live. And I have tried to, as they've continued to build up Kenny Omega's involvement and Don Callis and everything else that's been going on. I've been trying to watch it, but I can't. So now I have to wait for it to get onto Impact Plus, which actually I think I just canceled my subscription for that too. That was one of the things, that and Fight TV. But we'll get into that later. You ever have one of those moments? I ate dinner right before the show and got something caught in my throat. And no matter what I do, I can't get it out. So I don't know if this is going to end up being an hour-long show because this is beginning to be a real big struggle for me right now. So I may do some real fast hits on everything tonight and get out of here early because I don't know if my throat is going to hold up, excuse me, for 30 minutes. Actually, I've got to figure out a way. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Give me just a moment here. Okay, we're back. I'm hoping you didn't hear the coughing in the background. If you did, I apologize. All right, so again, Impact Wrestling viewership is down. Also, let's see. Mark Middleton of Wrestling Inc. reported that Tuesday night's edition of NXT drew 636,000 viewers on the USA Network. That actually coming from Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, down 4.4% from last week's episode. And I did find out, I saw the report and I don't remember who posted it today, but the SmackDown ratings as well for last night were some of the lowest that they have seen on the Fox network. AEW Dynamite did get back up into the 800,000 plus range for their first Wednesday night back. So that was good news, but you have to look at it like back in the days of the Monday Night Wars, when it was Raw against Nitro, you potentially had 9 to 10 million people tuning in for wrestling on a Monday night. And now you can't even get 2 million viewers for SmackDown on Fox. Well, you barely on Fox. You can't get that many on USA on Raw. AEW is not able to pull in 1 million right now. You combine everything together, Raw, Dynamite, NXT, and SmackDown, and they're not even pulling in 5 million total viewers between all of those shows. When on a regular basis, Raw or Nitro during the 83 weeks, each show was pulling in that many. Now, obviously, viewership habits have changed. Television has changed over the last, well, it's been, 20 plus years now, almost 25 years. Things have changed. The products have changed. There are more options now. But where have those viewers gone? And will they come back? Will we ever see the heyday like we did in the middle, more so the late 1990s, 1997, 98, early part of 99? Will we ever see that again? No, I don't think so. Again, there's so many other options. Now, SmackDown, you can make the excuse that it is a long holiday weekend. Here in the United States, it is Independence Day weekend, which is one of the bigger holiday weekends of the year. People are traveling. It's summertime. People are out and about doing things. The NBA playoffs are going on. Though, actually, I don't think there was a game last night. No, there wasn't. So there's a lot of excuses you can make. But guess what? Those things were going on back in the Monday Night Wars too. And maybe you did see some drop in viewership a little bit. I think it's gotten to the point, quite honestly, that one, the wrestling fans from back then, okay, let's say you were somewhere between 18 and 24 back in 1997. You are now in your late 30s, mid 40s to early 50s at this point in time now. If I'm doing my math right. 24 years, 18, 30, 40. Yeah, between 42 and 50. Obviously, your life changes. your viewing changes. Maybe you're not interested in it anymore. Maybe you lost interest a few years ago. Maybe the only reason you were tuning in was because there was a war between two major companies, and people got burned out from not having that competition. You get older, you have families, you have other things going on. But it's concerning to me as a lifelong wrestling fan and as somebody that talks, on social media and on the internet about wrestling, that these numbers have stagnated. They have kind of died off, and you're seeing a company like AEW. I would have thought once they hit that million mark that it would have continued to grow. Now, we'll have to wait and see in the next couple of weeks. Again, they had a month where they got pushed to Friday nights and then a Saturday night, and this is the first Wednesday night back. Maybe as they gain traction, will they get over 900,000 next week? Will they hit that million? Will they hit a million once they start doing Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen, their special nights? I believe it's a possibility. In the month of July, I believe AEW will get back over 1 million viewers. Will they be able to maintain that as long as they're able to stay on Wednesday nights? For them, I certainly hope so, because if you follow me on Twitter, over the course of this past week, I'd been tweeting a little bit about watching classic wrestling. I've kind of got, again, changing viewing habits. I work at a job. My daytime job is one that allows me to have TV on in the background while I'm doing my work. I can have YouTube on, I can have other things on. And I was watching a lot of, wrestling shows and, wrestling YouTube and other things. And I've kind of steered away from that a little bit. I still do it too when, if big news pops up, I've got my Twitter up all the time. I've got notifications that pop up. But I started watching some old school NWA from back in the late 1980s. This is before they became WCW. And I have a bone to pick. Give me a moment here. I have a rant. I know I'm not the only person that has said this. I talked about this before. I am really not happy with the Peacock network. It has been now going on 3 months since Peacock started airing WWE Network exclusively on their platform here in the United States. And it still hasn't gotten any better. There is still a lot of gaps in the programming and what they have to offer. I'm so sick and tired of the commercials. I want the old WWE Network back. I wish I had an option at work to use Surfshark or VPN and sign back up for the WWE Network, but I don't have that option at work. I am not happy with it. If it wasn't for the pay-per-views, I'd cancel Peacock. There is so much content that is missing. And yes, I understand it takes time to get those things up on the network, but when you've got, a couple million subscribers to the WWE Network, and you knew for months that this was coming, and the fact that they're missing 75% of the WCW library that they own is not there is just an absolute travesty. And one thing I've got to figure out, I forget which show it was I was watching. Oh, it was 1988 Bunkhouse Stampede, where Ric Flair defended his title against Road Warrior Hawk. Obviously, that wasn't the main event, but they edited out 7 minutes of that match. I'd have to go back and watch again what the disclaimer on there was, but they edited out a chunk of the beginning of that match, and I don't know why. I'm really not happy with the product right now, but I digress. Going back, I started watching. I think it's something popped up in my head about on my timeline about Ricky Steamboat. And for you folks that know, if you watched last week's show, Ricky Steamboat is my favorite wrestler of all time. He was really the first guy that really got my major fandom. I was a wrestling fan as a kid for about 8-9 years. Early on, I liked it. I didn't have anybody that I was really super into until I saw Ricky Steamboat, and that fandom just carried on for me. Well, I went back. I'm thinking, okay, I want to watch something of his. All right, I have got to watch the classic trilogy of matches from 1989 between Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat for the NWA World Championship. And I kind of did it in backwards order. I watched Wrestle War 89, where he lost the title back to Ric Flair. And that's the show where, and it wasn't the main event, surprisingly, where Terry Funk comes out and does this really awful promo and pile drives Ric Flair on a table, and the table doesn't break. And that sets up their one match feud. Then I jumped back to it was Chi-Town Rumble, 1989, where Steamboat won the title, and the pay-per-view in between, which for the life of me I can't remember the name of, is one of the ones that's missing from the WWE Network catalog on Peacock. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match where the third fall was controversial, which led to their match at Wrestle War 89. But I loved those matches, so I got to watching that stuff. And I look at the content now. I look at the content back then, and you had guys like Chi-Town Rumble, you had Barry Windham, you had the Varsity Club with Dr. Death Steve Williams and Mike Rotunda. You had a much younger Rick Steiner. You had a very young Sting, who was only in year 2 of his NWA career. You had Dusty Rhodes and Lex Luger and Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, obviously Ric Flair, so many others. And the wrestling, it was, the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette. It was about wrestling. There wasn't a ton of high spots as there is now. Yeah, there were still some gimmicks going on, but if you do a side-by-side comparison of 1980s, late 1980s, so 85 to 89 NWA versus 85 to 89 WWF at the time, stark contrast. And honestly, what we're seeing right now between AEW and WWE is very similar. And a lot of that has to do with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, the grandson of a plumber, the son of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, one of the executive vice presidents of AEW, loved 1980s NWA wrestling. He loved that style because that's what him and his brother grew up on. That's what they grew up in, was that. And I think that's part of the issue right now with the WWE is they're starting to slide back very quickly into that Vince McMahon mindset of what got me here at the start. Cartoonish characters, goofy finishes, a lot of repetition. That's one of the biggest complaints I continue to see on social media about the WWE is repetition. We've already gotten word of a couple of the matches for next week. The final Money in the Bank qualifiers. It's going to be Baron Corbin versus Shinsuke Nakamura again. And what was the other one that I heard that we've seen? Seth Rollins and Cesaro for the 8 millionth time again. And I'll talk about the women's division in a little bit. That's going to be kind of transferring over. So you've got a couple of things at work here. Really, really bad on the most part programming on the WWE side. And maybe that'll change in the next 2 weeks with live fans. The people that are thinking, oh, it's all going to switch around. Everything's going to be so much better when we get live fans. Guess what? It's not. It's not. I think we're still going to get a lot of the same crap. I don't think it's going to change all that much. Yeah, we're going to get some of the bigger names, but we know we're getting John Cena back. Becky Lynch will be back soon. Brock Lesnar doesn't sound like he's coming back anytime soon, but nobody really knows. The only person that knows is Brock Lesnar. I don't think the WWE programming is really going to get that much better. And yes, they're talking about NXT call-ups, Bronson Reed, Karrion Kross at the top of that list. Those guys will be coming up, but does that really mean anything? I mean, look at what Damian Priest has done or not done since he's been called up. Not a whole heck of a lot, to be perfectly honest. I don't have a lot of faith in it. And yes, there's the big report came from Andrew Zarian from the Madman podcast a week and a half ago about how the draft, it's really going to shake things up, and it's really going to be kind of a reset button for a lot of things. Yeah, a quick reset for a week or two, and then it's going to be a lot of the same trash again, quite honestly. But realistically, I don't know if we're going to see a huge bump in viewership again. Obviously, AEW is at the cusp, and I think there's still more viewers for them to garner in. And maybe when the NBA playoffs are done and the NHL is done, that will help them because there won't be as much outside things going on, until we get to the baseball playoffs. Who knows? And how is the switch to TBS next year going to affect things? I don't know. WWE, I think they have stagnated. And the fact that they are not killing it on Friday nights right now on network television, they should be drawing well over 3 million viewers every Friday night. Now, maybe it's because it's a Friday night. Friday night has always been a bad night for network television. It's never been a great night because it's the end of the work week, the beginning of the weekend, so many other things. Do people really want to sit down and watch television on a Friday night? I don't know. I don't see wrestling viewership jumping up over 6 million viewers total combined every week ever again. And it's disheartening because I loved the Monday Night Wars. My wife, if she came in here, she could sit down and tell you what our Monday nights were like. We had one television, one cable box, and I would sit there and flip back and forth. Well, actually, we did have 2 TVs, 2 cable boxes, but in separate rooms. I would actually tape one show in one room, but I would flip back and forth relentlessly. Now, with technology, I've got the setup. I realistically could have both shows on at the same time. All right, let's switch gears here. Before I forget, let me do this real quick. I greatly appreciate all the different subscribers and friends I've gotten on all my other channels. I've just started back again on TikTok. I took a couple of week break as I was really making a push on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for all the new subscribers to YouTube. But TikTok, please give me a follow over there at WrestleScope TV. Twitter is where I spend a lot of my time during the day at TV_wrestle, and on Instagram as well at WrestleScope. Please check me out over there. And thank you to my friends that are watching right now on Facebook. Going to be adding more content to the Facebook page very soon. I've really got to, I've got to kind of figure out a way to be able to cross promote things on multiple channels at the same time. And I'm still working on that right now to be able to get content on multiple channels at the same time. But greatly appreciate everybody that is checking me out on all the different platforms. And of course, my friends over on Twitch too. That's a channel I need to spend much more time on building that up. All right, let's talk about the big surprise from last night. And in a way, it was a big surprise, but then again, in a way, it really wasn't. Zelina Vega being announced as the next entrant in the women's Money in the Bank. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why SmackDown is doing things the way they're doing. This is 2 weeks in a row where we have had authority figure official, but not quite really an official, Sonya Deville, come out to the ring and announce, hey, this woman is in the Money in the Bank. No qualifying match. Don't have to work to get in. Carmella makes sense because she is a two-time winner and a former champion. It makes sense that she's in it. Okay, I get that. But last night they announced the returning Zelina Vega. And I was excited to see her back. And there had been rumors going around for the last month that she was going to be back on WWE television because she was at the Performance Center. I believe it was the end of May, mid-May to the end of May, filming something along with The Rock's daughter, Simone. And all of a sudden she shows up and she comes out. She's a heel. No doubt about it. Her promo was all heel. And then Liv Morgan comes out for the second week in a row and interrupts the woman that has been announced for the match, has a match, and wins in about 2.5 minutes with a roll-up. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. Zelina Vega. Excited to see her back. Was unceremoniously released because of some outside things with her Twitch channel back in October. She's back 9 months later, and you have her lose in 2 minutes to Liv Morgan. Now, this is no offense to Liv Morgan. She has been working her butt off. And, ever since Ruby Riott got released, it's been harder for her because, she was alone. Then she was in a team. Now she's alone again. I don't know what to make of this. And this is not a very good start for Zelina Vega coming back. Is this going to be one of those Vince McMahon kind of things like, oh, yeah, we're going to bring you back and, oh, we are going to bury you? I certainly hope not. I hope in a month's time, 2 months' time, we're not sitting here saying, why did Thea Trinidad re-sign with WWE? Why didn't she go to AEW? I was really, really hoping for her to show up and be the mouthpiece for Andrade again because they were such a fantastic pairing. And obviously that's not going to happen. And now we are stuck with Vicky Guerrero on Dynamite. And I have no clue what they're doing with Andrade over there. But that's a topic for another time. So Zelina Vega is back. And was that was the only women's match they had on SmackDown last night? Because they had the in-ring promo, which was really good. That segment was good between Bianca Belair and Bayley. Have those two be serious. Don't have any comedy crap in there. Those two were good. And of any match at Money in the Bank, I think that's the one I'm most excited for right now. The Money in the Bank matches are interesting, and especially after last year's, we need to get back to normal, which thankfully with them being in front of a crowd, it will hopefully get back to normal. But the I Quit match between Bayley and Bianca Belair is going to be great. And could this be when we see the return of Sasha Banks? I think it's going to happen. I think Sasha is going to show up at Money in the Bank. But I digress. That's a topic for another time. But that leads me into my next subject is the WWE women's division continuing to be a mess. It really is a disaster right now. And last night was a perfect showcase of that. You have one match, unless I missed something, really no focal point on it. On Raw, it's an absolute disaster. It really, truly is. I just don't get what they are doing right now. And it goes back to something that I had brought up, I had talked about last week, and other people have talked about it too, that WWE is just, they're on cruise control right now. They're just kind of skating along until they get fans back. All of a sudden the product is just going to change and it's going to be magically better. Well, you have done irreparable damage to the Raw women's division. You have pretty much destroyed the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Not that they were ever that great. And SmackDown is, well, you got Bayley and Bianca. What on earth are they doing? I really don't understand it. They need, what I would love to see is somebody else get control of the women's division. Somebody else within WWE take over the women's division and do the booking. Say, all right, you need to give us this amount of time on Raw with this many segments, 2 to 3 matches, couple of promos. Same thing on SmackDown, obviously a little bit less because there's 1 hour less. This is what, these are the parameters we need to work with and build that up. The women's division in WWE is a joke right now. And it's not the fault of the women. It's not their fault at all. I am not saying anything. If you're going to start attacking me about, you're just bashing the talent, blah, blah. No, I am not bashing the talent. I'm bashing the way the talent is being portrayed. Quite honestly, I can barely even remember what the heck happened on Raw with the women's division. Yes, I know there was a tag team match, or was a 6-woman match, and Rhea Ripley and Charlotte and Alexa and Nikki Cross, the Almost Hero, were involved, and Natty and Tamina. Oh, that promo. Oh my goodness. That backstage promo with Charlotte Flair, Tamina, and Natalya was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. Charlotte Flair, as great as an athlete as she is a gifted athlete. But for the love of all things wrestling, please keep the microphone away from her. She obviously, and there's people that I've gotten into arguments on Twitter about this. She obviously has not gotten the charisma or the knack for cutting a promo that her father had. Ric Flair, from 1986 through really 2000, before WCW got sold, there was nobody better at cutting a promo than Ric Flair. And you'd think his daughter would have learned something from that, but she didn't. She is so robust. I swear it's like they're holding up cue cards for her. Charlotte, you need to say these things. We are part of a dynasty. We need to teach them. It's awful. I cringe anytime that she's going to talk. Again, don't take anything away from her as an athlete. physically as an athlete, she is one of the best women in the world. But when it comes to talking on the mic, yeah, I could do without it. But the women's division in WWE is a hot mess right now. And quite honestly, NXT is starting to slip into that right now. They're really, really starting to slip into that right now. And I hope it doesn't continue on. It's starting to get really bad. AEW's women's division it's not perfect. It's not, but there are two ships passing in the night. One, much like ratings, one's going up, one's going down. AEW has gotten so much better in the last 12 months. But WWE needs a lot of help right now. All right, let's switch gears and talk a little bit more positively. And go ahead and get your comments in here. Would greatly appreciate it. May open the floor up to and ask John anything in just a little bit here. But I want to talk about that main event from Dynamite. I want to talk about Sammy Guevara and MJF. I wasn't happy with the finish to the match, but then again, I wasn't surprised. I was actually happy to see that it wasn't a clean victory, even though, and what was the comment I got here? Hold on, let me pull this up. Sean Spears had posted something the other day. Oh, here we go. Let me get this tweet up. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna share the screen real quick. Hold on, so you guys can see what was said here, and hopefully you can see this okay. All right, here we go. So Sean Spears, after last Wednesday's Dynamite, I wanted to give credit to where it's all due all along. MJF single-handedly proved that he's the future of AEW, not Jungle Kid, not Skateboard Boy, and obviously not the Spanish plug from the Circle. Always bet on the Pinnacle. And, oh, yeah. So my response, single-handedly, huh? Wardlow distracting the ref. You had a chair. Not exactly single-handedly. And Steve Johnson, whoever this guy is, calling me a mark. Okay. And I know MJF, actually, let me see if I can find his tweet. And I was disappointed he didn't respond to me. I was hoping he was going to rail on me. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, actually, he went on a run of clean winner me, clean middle. I won clean winner me, MJF won clean, and calling himself the king of AEW. And just, yeah. It was a good way for that match to end, but Sammy Guevara and MJF showed that they are hands down the future of that company. And the previous Saturday night, Jungle Boy did that as well with an amazing match with Kenny Omega. But they show, the first 5 minutes of that match were just incredible, where MJF did things that I forgot that he could do. Really matching Sammy Guevara word for word, or move for move, and just an incredible match. Those guys, I can see this feud going on for a long time. They were just fantastic in the ring, and it's scary to think that this was the first singles match MJF has had on television since February. He's been involved in tag team and group matches, but only a second singles match. Oh, you're a mark too, huh, Mel? Okay. I loved it. I absolutely loved that main event. It was great. It was exactly what it needed to be. And, I'm a little concerned here. I may get distracted in a moment. Okay. No, I saw a name come up as trending on Twitter, and a lot of times that means, especially somebody that's older has died, but this person is not. So I'm thankful about that. Yeah, it was a great match. I can't wait to see these two have a singles match again in the future. Having Shawn Spears get involved in that with that chair, though, that chair shot. AEW, I've seen a few too many close to the head chair shots. If I have anything to criticize AEW on right now, please, no more close to the head chair shots. All right. Especially to a younger talent like Sammy Guevara. I mean, a guy that's in his, mid 20s, it doesn't need his brains bashed in. I mean, nobody does. We are so far beyond the days of guys needing to get clubbed in the head with chairs. Hit him in the back, hit him in the chest, get him in the arm, the shoulder, whatever. We don't need headshots anymore. And Shawn Spears has shown that he can be kind of reckless with the chair. I don't know. I mean, you got to be careful with that. But that was an absolute, just top to bottom, a fantastic main event. I still have not seen any news. I don't know. I really thought when MJF did that move off the second rope and he played like he hurt his knee, I thought he legit hurt his knee, because that continued on for the remainder, the last 5 or 6 minutes of that match. Never did see any reports of him actually suffering a knee injury. Maybe, if he didn't get injured, man, he sure as heck acted like he did, and definitely deserves an Oscar for that, because I really legitimately thought he was hurt. And this is coming from a guy, I've watched wrestling for over 40 years and realized that, yeah, a lot of times these guys are acting when they get hurt. I'm not saying wrestling is fake. Don't go down that road. I know people get hurt in the ring. I know what happens. I've seen it happen. I know guys that have legitimately gotten hurt in the ring. But I seriously thought MJF was injured. And if he's not, boy, he played it up extremely well. I would love to see main events like that every single week. Not with those two guys, but other guys. I loved it. I mean, I was glued to the TV. I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of it helped having Chris Jericho on commentary. And I want to talk about that real quick too. The combination of Chris Jericho and Jim Ross was absolutely phenomenal. And having Tony Schiavone in there too. I mean, just those three have known each other for so long. Tony and Jim obviously have known each other for decades. Jim Ross and Jericho, the reason Jericho was in WWE was because of Jim Ross. Listen to his autobiography, his second book, Under the Black Hat. He'll tell you about Chris Jericho coming to WWE. It was absolutely fantastic. I want to see more of that every single week. And obviously there is so much more to come with this Inner Circle and Pinnacle feud, that they could continue doing stuff like this every week and make it new. You didn't have the involvement of FTR this week. You didn't have Santana and Ortiz. It was just really, Jake Hager wasn't around. So really you just had the 5 guys there in Wardlow, Spears, MJF, and Sammy and Jericho. But I loved it, and I want to see more of that. While we're talking about this and Jim Ross, I want to, not that he needs me to come to his defense. I've been a huge fan of Jim Ross and his work since the mid 1980s, when I first heard him on NWA television. And yeah, you've all heard it. He made a slip. He had a faux pas. He made a mistake, and he owned it right away, where he called it, WWF Dynamite. It was an emotional moment as they were closing out their final show without fans at Daly's Place. They had that incredible video, and he was emotional. As somebody that has done announcing on the professional level, I've done wrestling announcing, I've done sports announcing for, high school, college, and pro sports on radio and television. Mistakes happen. You get emotional and your mouth reacts before your brain can. And you say something, you make a mistake, and, for whatever reason, WWF popped up in Jim Ross's head. It was a mistake. Drop it. For the people that have been railing on Jim Ross, and it was really bad on Wednesday night and Thursday morning, for people that are railing on him, you know what? Put yourself in his position. Or let's put you in a bubble, and the next time you make a silly mistake at work, can millions of people call you out on social media? Leave the man alone, okay? He is the greatest wrestling announcer ever. And this is no offense to Bob Caudle or Gordon Soley or anyone else. Jim Ross is the best. He is the benchmark for everybody else. He is a legend. Leave him alone. Shut up and keep your criticisms to yourself. There, I've said my piece on that. All right, my throat's feeling okay right now. So I think at least for a few minutes here, and I've gotten a couple of messages here off Facebook messengers that I got to check here real quick. But I'm going to open it up real quick for a round of Ask John Anything. Let's see. What? Ooh, I could get $2,700 from Walmart COVID-19 relief program. Yeah, whatever. And that's not bad. Okay, so we're going to open it up. Ask John anything. It could be wrestling related. It could be anything. Let's try to keep it appropriate, though. I will only use ones. Those of you that are in the chat the live chat can see what's going on, but that doesn't mean I have to put it on the screen. So go ahead. We had some good questions last week. We had some really good questions last week. So let's see what we can. I'm not following him yet on Twitter. Oh my, I got to add him. That's one thing I am going to be. I got to start following more people on Twitter because I need to get my Twitter numbers up. So let me ask you folks a question here, and you can respond in the comments. Outside of wrestling, have you been watching anything else the last couple of weeks? I have actually been watching Euro Cup soccer during the day. I'm kind of a closet soccer fan. I wasn't listening to any of the commentary, but we have two TVs at work. One that I always have my YouTube and everything else on with the audio. We have another one when I'm working by myself. I'll have the screen on, but I won't have audio on. And I've had Euro Cup on this entire week, so that's been fun to watch that. I will tend sometimes. We'll end up having a golf tournament on, maybe. Watch some of that. I have not been watching much of the NBA playoffs, which is kind of, in a way, kind of hilarious since I live in Milwaukee and my hometown team, the Bucks, are one win away from the NBA Finals, and I quite honestly don't care. But that's a topic for another time. I don't want to get into that here. But what have you folks been watching outside of wrestling? Again, I mentioned it earlier. I've been watching some of the old school wrestling pay-per-views, which again, there's only a few that I can watch from the 80s right now on Peacock, which really sucks. I may have to start watching some 90s content, and I don't want to get into past 1994 because that's when Hulk Hogan showed up in WCW, and I hated it. That really led to a couple of really bad years there for WCW. But I've been watching some 80s movies too. Finally, for the first time in 30 plus years, I got to watch Howard the Duck. Yes, Howard the Duck. And I don't know what I did. Oh, hold on. John's got to get up from his chair for a second. I actually own the DVD of Howard the Duck, but haven't cracked it open. And I found it. Actually, I think it was on Peacock Network. So one good thing about Peacock Network, I found Howard the Duck on Peacock, and I watched it for the first time since like 19. When did this movie come out? 87, I think it was. Trying to see. Where is the? Oh, 1986. So yeah, it's been 24, 25 years since the last time I saw this movie. But yeah, I was excited to watch it. Yes, it's campy. Yes, it's bad, but it's Howard the Duck. And the main reason I love this movie is for many, many years, I had a huge crush on Leah Thompson. Going back to, when she was in Back to the Future 2 and 3, and then this movie and just so many others. I had a huge crush on her. Okay, I will admit that. One other thing I want to talk about, and this is going to probably shock a lot of you. I have loved this belt. This was the very first actual replica wrestling belt that I purchased. But believe it or not, and yeah, it's not the plastic ones. No, this is the actual WWF. Let me get you a close up of this. The actual replica WWF belt that the likes of the British Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation and the Brain Busters and the Legion of Doom and many others wore this belt. In the Rougeaus, Strike Force. No, maybe Strike Force didn't. I don't know. I'd have to look back. But I am actually selling this belt. I have it up on Facebook Marketplace right now. And I don't know if I'm actually going to part ways with it. We'll see. Because, well, for those of you that know my Twitter and YouTube past on here, this belt was actually being used for something else up until about 3 weeks ago. And it's no longer being used for that. And I still love this belt. I got it locally from a guy that was selling it. I was excited to get this one. It wasn't my first choice of belt that I want to get, but it might be time to part ways with it. So if you're interested, I could give you details. Obviously, not everybody that's viewing me is going to be within driving distance of Milwaukee. I would hate to ship it, but I can. I actually just did ship something else. You guys can't see it, but I had a collection of toy belts that were set up kind of in the back. I was planning on readjusting the office here and was going to have it as a background over there. But I decided as I was gaining some other things, like, you know what? I just don't need those anymore. So I actually just sold a whole big bunch of my toy belts and just today just shipped them off to somebody. So I don't mind shipping this. I will insure it, and to at least get cost covered if something ends up happening to it. But if you're interested in that belt, DM me and we could talk. like I said, it is a replica belt, leather belt. I believe it's 2 millimeter plates on it. It's not a commemorative one. It's not one of the Jack's commemoratives that was sold at Toys R Us. This is actually a replica belt from the WWF. I'm not sure exactly where it came from because I'm not the original owner, but yeah, it is what it is. All right, I am going to get out of here, folks, because my throat is still bothering me. I don't know. I think I just need to drink a really big glass of water. I'm hoping we have an exciting week this week of wrestling. Obviously, with AEW, Dynamite is going to be very interesting on Wednesday night. I could see the first 5 minutes of that show being nothing but crowd noise. The crowd is going to go absolutely crazy, and I'm looking forward to it. We've got the go home Raw and SmackDown for Money in the Bank, which I don't know. I mean, they've still got 2 SmackDown women's spots open for Money in the Bank, and they haven't filled them yet. What the heck? I don't know. Maybe one more surprise return. Maybe, Liv Morgan gets one. Becky Lynch? Could it be Becky? Probably not. Or Sasha? One of those two, maybe. I don't know. But it should be a very interesting week in wrestling. I'm curious to see how things are going to end up going. And when are we going to see Bronson Reed called up to the main roster? Probably right after Money in the Bank. Karrion Kross. I don't know. That one might be further down the road. That one may be a little bit further down the road. We shall see. But, one last thing I need to talk about here, and I can't believe I biffed on this one. This week was a rough week, and this one really shocked me because Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful Select did an interview with Del Wilkes, the Patriot, earlier this week. And then the news came out, I believe it was on Thursday. It was either Wednesday or Thursday that he passed away. Del Wilkes passed away from a massive heart attack at the age of 59. Now, he was a guy, I remember seeing him for the first time in the GWF, the Global Wrestling Federation out of Dallas, which came up after World Class Championship Wrestling. And he had some amazing feuds down there. He was one of the top baby faces in that organization, had a great feud against the Dark Patriot. And then he was brought up to the WWF. He did some wrestling, a lot of wrestling over in Japan, and then came over to the WWF and had a decent little run until he got hurt. There's the whole controversy over Tom Brady stealing his gimmick and everything, but I won't get into that. But it was shocking to me because 59, I still consider that young. And, he died from a massive heart attack just days after doing an interview, which is a shame. And, I was always a big fan of Del Wilkes' work as the Patriot. I thought he did an incredible job in both his stint in the GWF and in WWE. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Del Wilkes' family on the loss, any of his friends that were affected by this. It really is a shame that we've lost another one. And that's something, I think that's the thing that really hit me hard when I heard this news was so many wrestlers that I watched back in the 80s and 90s, one by one, they're slowly starting to go away. We're losing them. And, that's a part of my childhood and my early adult years that is now lost. And it hurts. It really does hurt as a lifelong wrestling fan when mortality comes into play like this. So um I guess the big thing to take out of this is just appreciate what you have now. Appreciate the time that you have, but don't forget how fleeting that time can be, because none of us know when our number is going to be called, when it's going to be our time. So take advantage of every moment that you have. Cherish all the time that you have with the people around you, with your friends, with the people that you are fans of. Cherish those moments, because you don't know when they're going to be gone. Sorry to leave you on such a somber note. I don't like doing those things, but I had it in my mind, and I didn't want to forget about talking about Del Wilkes, the Patriot. And I did want to get into that. So, whoops, wrong thing there. Continuing on, there's been some stumbles in the road with the 365 days of WrestleScope, but I'm still striving to do content every single day. I know how many days I have missed, which means, I will be doubling up on some days. That is the plan, is to have 365 broadcasts or 365 videos up within 365 days. And I'm hoping not to fall too much further behind. Oh, one last thing I want to do here real quick. I want to say a big congratulations to somebody. This is a guy that I met through another channel and have become a huge fan of. He has been a big supporter of what I've been doing and encouraging me. SP3 from True Heel Heat. Absolutely fantastic guy. Think the world of him. He was much like me, working a full-time job and doing YouTube and other things on the side, but he was doing so much more with True Heel Heat as a side thing. He has decided to step forth and do, YouTube and that kind of stuff on a full-time basis. And it's a huge leap of faith, because, he's married and has a family. But I was so excited to hear the news that he was doing that he's going full force into it, and has already been pushing forward, trying to make connections with other people and everything else. If you have not followed True Heel Heat, and let me do this real quick. I have to adjust something here. Unfortunately, I can't link him up on here, but I can do this. We'll do this. Why is it not showing up? Yeah, please, on Twitter, follow SP3. Just put in SP3 in the search Twitter and it'll come up. And also find True Heel Heat on YouTube. Please give them follows. Give them follows. Show your support for SP3. He is one of the really, truly good guys out there. Not just in wrestling, but just in general. I am honored to know him through all this stuff. I have not been able to really work directly with him or meet him in person. I'm hoping at some point in time this year, now that things are opening up, that him and I are able to, sit down and grab a drink or something together and watch some wrestling together, because I think the world of this guy. So please give him a follow on Twitter, give True Heel Heat a follow on Twitter, and subscribe to their YouTube channel. Some of the conversation is not safe for children, not safe for work, but they are very passionate about wrestling and do a great job with it. I love what they do. So please go give them a follow. I'm going to leave that up for the end of the video here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for the comments. Obviously, if you leave comments here on YouTube, on Facebook as well, I will get to them in the next 24 hours or so. So leave your comments in there on anything that we talked about or things that you want me to talk about. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in on Facebook, on Twitch, and here on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast as well, I always forget about the podcast listeners. The podcast numbers are growing every single week, and I'm excited about that. So thank you very much for that. Have a great 4th of July here in the United States. Enjoy Independence Day. Wave that flag. Remember why we have the freedoms that we do. Okay? Forget all the political rhetoric and everything else. This is a day to celebrate. And go on out and do it safely, please. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will have some content up at some point in time tomorrow. WrestleScope Weekly will return next week, Saturday, at a to-be-determined time, and we'll see what we have to talk about. I will also have Money in the Bank predictions coming up. Don't forget NXT Tuesday night. We've got Great American Bash, which is going to be great. The first big live on the road AEW Dynamite on Wednesday. Oh, it's going to be such a great week of wrestling. Thank you for tuning in to WrestleScope TV. Have a great night, everybody, and we will talk to you tomorrow.